been playing Jesus for 500 years. Like literally.
Yeah.
Jesus doesn't look anything like Brad Pitt.
You can identify everything but the children of God. I need my people to wake up and understand that this is a propaganda.
The curse of the pharaohs are a poor example of what wait for the plantation.
Beware false prophets who come dressed in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravening wolves.
You black bastard!
He that stealeth the man.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
I'd like to say shalom, peace and blessings to all my brothers and sisters, to all my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites. And I want to welcome you to this discussion concerning the relationship/war between our brothers and sisters. Before I begin, I want to once again say peace and blessings to everybody in the chat. And I want to welcome you once again. I want to give all thanks, honor, and praise to the Most High for his goodness, his mercy, and for his blessings. And I want to shout out to the brothers over at the side of the earth. And if you are just tuning in, this is a part 2 to this discussion that I'm having. And in the part 1, what I did is basically went over some basic history. One of the things that I like to do is when I'm dealing with an issue is I like to deal with the root of whatever that issue is. And in order to do that, you know, you have to be able to go into the history to find out what the root cause of the issue is. I want to say shalom and blessings to Darnell Blackshear, peace and blessings. Peace and blessings to T Brown, shalom to you. But what I was saying is one of the things I like to do, me personally, is I like to deal with history. And we know that dealing with our history as a people, we go to the scripture and we get a root cause of why we see what we see today in our people. We know that we are the Most High's people. And we know that a lot of what we're dealing with is due to the curses that we're under, that the Most High said we would be under based on Deuteronomy chapter 28. Shalom and blessings, Sister Linda. Welcome to the discussion tonight. You know, I like to call these discussions, these not lessons, but we do get into the scripture. But in dealing with who we are as a people and why we see the things that we see with our people, the curses, the conditions, why we at the bottom, you know, and particularly the war / relationship between our brothers and sisters. Why do we see these things, you know? And what we find is that when we deal with the scripture, the record gives us the answers to what we're searching out. If we want to understand the condition of our people, no matter what that condition is, you know, even on a personal level, we can trace it back to what the word of the Most High told us. And so in dealing with this in particular, the connection between our brothers and sisters, we have a history, you know, that if we take the time to understand, then we could probably understand more of why we see what we see today. And if we be honest, you know, there's an extreme hatred and variance between our brothers and sisters. And I'm not saying that to create anything. This is just a reality of what we see. You know, it's a lot of different platforms that's dealing with the issue. And like I mentioned in the last video, I kind of liken this issue to racism somewhat. Why do I say that? Because if you look at racism, you know, prior to now, a lot of our people denied that racism was even an issue, particularly those of our people who had the opportunity to live well and make money and do those types of things. You know, you'll find that those people among us will deny that racism even exists. But then once a certain individual got into the presidential seat and exposed a lot of things, then people started to confess what it is. And even now we see that it's prevalent, it's real. You know, I don't want to focus on that, but I'm just saying that issue is just like this other issue with our sisters and brothers. Nobody really wanted to deal with it until it became a blatant issue that, you know, nobody could deny, you know. And once it started to affect our people in a certain type of way, then we started to cry out against it, you know. And this issue is the same way. You have a lot of different platforms that's dealing with the issue, but a lot of these platforms get discredited in a way because they're dealing with it from a carnal perspective. You know, you have your different movements now that deal with the issue, and they bring out certain points that are valid, but from a carnal perspective. And so it doesn't really hold any weight, so to speak. Shalom and blessings, Sister Saraya Yashara. And so I'm saying all this to say that for those of us who want to really deal with the issue and heal and come to an understanding, then we have to go into the history. Peace and blessings, Brother Hal. We got to go into the history to get a good understanding as to why we see what we see happening today. And when we go into the history, we have to go into it with an open understanding. It's not about being biased or blaming any one person over the other. You know, we see a lot of that too from a lot of different platforms. You know, some platforms blame the men, some platforms blame the women. Both platforms will bring out valid points. However, it's never to come to any real solutions. And this is not speaking on every single platform. You know, I'm just saying that this is something that we have to really take into consideration for ourselves, you know, and look at it amongst ourselves and see how can we deal with this in a more effective way. We have to be more solution oriented. And so in the last video, we dealt with somewhat the beginning history. We compared Genesis chapter 3, chapter 2 and 3. And then we compared that with the history of Adam and Eve. And so I want to get more into the history today to find out the root cause of why we see what we see. And why do I say that it's a relationship / war? All right. Real quick, this is the account of Adam and Eve. We read the account in Genesis. I just want to point out real quick why I call it what I call it, the relationship / war. It says 25. This is Adam and Eve 25 and 1. And this is dealing with when he pronounced the sentences and the curses on Eve for what she did. All right. It says, and Yahweh turned unto me and said, because thou hast hearkened to the voice of the serpent and rebelled against my commandment, thou shalt be in travail and in great agonies. Thou shalt bring forth In sorrows and trembling shalt thou bring forth children, and in 1 hour thou shalt draw nigh unto birth, and thou shalt be cut off from thy life, and thou shalt be brought low in great sorrows. And remember, we talked about that, how the Most High said many sorrows would be on the women, and how, we see that happening today. We see that being manifest today. A lot of women are literally killing their own children and being careless with their own children, and the Most High said this would happen. But he said that thou shalt draw nigh unto birth, and thou shalt be cut off from thy life, and thou shalt be brought low in great sorrows. And we talked about how during the birth process, it's many women who actually lose their lives giving birth, so this is why a lot of people say when a woman gives birth, it's like she's almost giving her own life to a degree, because some women have actually given their lives in this process. And so it's not a process to be ridiculed or taken lightly, but the Most High said that this would be on the woman. And so this is as a result of what she did by taking heed to the serpent. But let's read on. It says, and thou shalt confess and say, Yehovah, Yehovah, save me, and I will turn no more to the sin of the flesh. Therefore, according to thine own words, I will judge thee by reason of the enmity which the enemy has put in thee. All right. Thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. So the Most High is telling her that even when she confesses and repents, and confess that she'll turn no more to the sin of the flesh, the Most High said that he would judge her according to her own words, all right, by reason of the enmity which the enemy has put in thee. And we dealt with this term real quick. Let's get a brief definition of that enmity, because this is what was sown into Eve when she partook of the fruit. The whole purpose of the serpent deceiving her into eating the fruit was to sow that particular seed in her, which would cause discord between her and the man. Just like we read in Genesis chapter 3, when he cursed the serpent, he said he would put enmity between thy seed and the woman's seed. And we see that enmity is being practiced and carried out today through those very people to our people, And so this term enmity, it says a state or feeling of being actively opposed or hostile to someone or something. So I just want to deal with this brief definition of it. The state or feeling of being actively opposed or hostile to someone or something. So when Eve partook of that fruit, this is what was sown into her. All right. The state of feeling or being actively opposed or hostile to someone or something. Now, I'm not saying that this was carried out by her in particular. Just like when Adam sinned, what that was the beginning or the foundation of sin. So from that point all the way through creation, through their seed, sin would grow and multiply. And at a point in time, you would see this very thing manifest through the woman toward the man, this enmity. All right. Now, That's a brief definition of it. I just wanted to sort of recap on that. All right. And so this is why I call it the relationship / war. And it's because of the enmity that the enemy sowed into the woman from the beginning. All right. She was deceived into partaking of something that she believed would make her as God. All right. And the Most High told her that her desire was to be to her husband, and he shall rule over thee. All right. Let me pull that back up. He said, therefore, according to thine own words, I will judge thee by reason of the enmity which the enemy has put in thee. Thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. All right. This is the issue that we having right now. All right. Right here. If we just be honest and just lay it all out, this is where the issue comes down. A lot of the women have an issue with this. And this is what the Most High said. Now, the question that I ask, this is the Most High giving Eve her sentence for disobeying the command. All right. Now, the Most High is cursing Eve with sorrow through childbearing, right? But when we get to this part, when he says, thy desire shall be to thy husband, and I touched on this some in the first video, right? Thy desire shall be to thy husband. All right. I want to stop right there with that part. Is this a part of the curse that the Most High placed on Eve? All right. Is that a curse for a woman's desire to be to her husband? All right. This is when the Most High is giving her sentence. So is this a curse that the Most High is giving her? Number one. Number two, why would the Most High have to tell her that her desire is to be to her husband when there were no other men around during this time? I mean, you had the serpent, and we're going to get into some of the history tonight to get more detail as to what took place, what caused her to be deceived, and what caused her to make the decision she made. But why would the Most High have to tell Eve that her desire is to be to her husband when a woman's desire is to be to her husband? It's because that when the serpent deceived her into eating the fruit, her desire then was not to her husband. Her desire was to be like God. All right. And this is not, like I said, this is not to offend anyone. What we're doing is we're getting into the history of what took place in the beginning. Everything has a history, and the Most High tells us to search it out. All things was written for our learning, And so if we want to heal from this issue, then we have to get to the root of it. Thy desire is to be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Is he cursing Eve by telling her desires to be to her husband? Or is he letting her know that this was his original intent, original order from the beginning? Thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And so we're going to get some more understanding about this, because in an honest note, this is a concept that men throughout time have abused. We don't really have many good examples of men who were good rulers you know, and did the will of the Most High. We have some in our records, you know what I mean? But that's not to really, you know, make an excuse here or there. You know, we're all responsible for what we do. And so what the Most High is doing right here is he's laying or restoring back what Satan tried to destroy from the beginning. You know, when Adam was created, he was created in the image, in a direct image and likeness of the Most High. And Eve was created from the glory and the likeness of Adam. All right. And this is what makes them both the image of Elohim. A lot of people say Eve is not the image of Elohim. And that's not necessarily true, because the fact that she's in the image of Adam makes her the image of Elohim as well. All right. But the Most High gave Adam the dominion. He gave them both dominion over everything, but he gave Adam dominion over all things, including her, from the beginning. And what Satan tried to do was disrupt that. And so what we're going to do tonight is I want to get into the history within the same book right here. We're going to do some reading tonight. You know, if you got to go, you got to go. But this will be part 2, and I will do a part 3. And in part 3, what we'll do is we'll get more technical. We'll get more active with things that we actually see happening today. And we're going to go through a lot of scriptures that'll outline a lot of things that we're seeing today. And that'll help us out as well. But this is not like I said, an issue like that I want to make a woman against man thing. You know, I don't want that to be the purpose and intent. And, you know, if that's anybody else's position, then, you know, feel free, but that's not the position that I want to take. I just want to simply lay out information that'll help us understand this issue better. You know, whether we like it or not, we will see this issue being more talked about, you know, and it will be a mainstream issue. It has been, you know, over many years. But like I said, it's like racism, you know. We can sweep it under the rug until ain't no more room under the rug. And now we have to deal with it because it's blatant. But those of us who truly believe, you know, this is how we deal with it. We get to the root of it. All right, this is chapter 1. It says, this is the story of Adam and Eve. All right, in this version, I read from a Hebrew translation. So Eve is translated as Kawa. So if I read that, just know that that's speaking of Eve. That's her Hebrew name. Afterwards, they had gone out of the Garden of Eden, and Adam took his wife, Kawa, and went to the east. And he abode there 18 years and 2 months. And Adam knew his wife, Kawa, and she conceived and bare 2 sons. The enlightened one, who is called Cain or Cain, and the kind-hearted one, who is called Habel or Abel. All right, so real quick, just to address people who say that Eve had sex with Satan, and that's how Cain came about. You know, this account goes against that, and even in the account that we're accustomed to in Genesis, it goes against that. It tells you that Adam knew his wife, and both times she conceived and bore 2 sons, all right, by Adam. And so let's read on. 2. And after this, Adam and Kawah were with one another. And while they were sleeping, Kawah said to Adam, Adonai, behold, I have seen in a dream this night the blood of my son, the kind-hearted one, called Habel, being poured into the mouth of Cain, his brother. And he went on drinking it without pity. And he cried out to him to leave him a little of it. Yet he hearkened not to him, but drank it until he was full. Nor did it remain in his bowels, but came out of his mouth. And Adam said, let us rise and go and see what has happened to them, for perhaps the enemy warred against them. 3. And they both found Habel slain by the hand of Cain his brother. And Elohim said to Michael the great prince, say to Adam, reveal not the secret that thou knowest to Cain thy son, for he is a son of wrath. But grieve not, for I will give thee another son instead. He shall make known to thee all that thou shalt do. These things told the great prince to Adam. And Adam kept the word in his heart, and afterwards Kawah bewailed herself concerning Habel, her son. 404. And moreover, Adam knew Kawah, his wife, and she conceived and bare Seth. And Adam said to Kawah, behold, we have begotten a son in place of Habel, whom Cain slew. Now let us give glory and sacrifice to Elohim. And Adam begat 30 sons and 30 daughters. And Adam lived 930 years. And he fell sick and cried with a loud voice and said, let all my sons come to me, that I may see them before I die. And they all gathered, for the earth was inhabited into 3 winds. And Seth his son said to him, my father, what is thy infirmity? And Adam said to him, great pain has seized upon me. And they said, what is pain? What is sickness? Just know that even in the so-called scientific world, they found they have evidence of immortality. All right, and this is why they're trying to mimic it. All right, everything that they find evidence of, they try to mimic, but they tell us that the word of the Most High is not true. What is pain? What is sickness? When the Most High brings us back, didn't he say that he's going to take all pain, all sorrow, all sickness away? So it's not far-fetched. They know it's true, but we have to know it's true. And Seth answered and said to him, hast thou not remembered, my father, the tree of the garden of which thou ate from, and hast been grieved of? If, therefore, tell me, and I will go and bring thee fruit from the garden, for I will set dust upon my head, and I will entreat, and Yahweh will hearken to me, and send his angel, and I will bring it thee, that thy pain may be healed from thee. Adam said to him, nay, Seth my son, but I have much sickness and pain. Seth said to him, and how hath this come upon thee? 7. And Adam said to him, when Elohim made us, me and thy mother, because of her also I die. He gave us power to eat of the tree which is in the garden, but concerning that one, he commanded us not to eat of it. Verse 2. And when it drew nigh for the angels who were guarding thy mother to go up and worship Yahweh, and I was far from her, and the enemy knew that she was alone, And he gave her, and she ate of the tree. Afterwards, she gave it also unto me to eat. All right, so we get somewhat of an outline of what happened. All right, we're going to get more deep into this. But Seth is asking his father, why are you going through all of this pain? What is pain? What is sickness? And how has this come upon you? And so now he's letting him know a brief outline of what happened. He said, the Most High gave us power to eat of every tree which is in the garden, even the tree of life. But concerning that one, he commanded us not to eat. And when it drew nigh for the angels, this is where you kind of get an idea of what sort of took place. And when it drew nigh for the angels who were guarding thy mother to go up and to worship Yahweh, and I was far from her. All right. And the enemy knew that she was alone. All right. So this kind of gives us an insight of what we read, and I think is First Corinthians, where it talks about the covering. All right. The head covering goes back to this moment, and it goes back also to the moment of the angels or the watchers during the days of Enoch. This is why it tells a woman to be covered, and that she has authority on her head because of the angels. All right. So we're going to find out more details into that, because the Bible tells us that the Satan transforms himself into an angel of light. So remember that. All right. Keep that in mind as we move forward. So he said, the angels who were guarding Eve, they went up to worship. All right. And he was far away, and the enemy knew she was alone. All right. And he gave her, and she ate of the tree. Afterwards, she gave it also unto me to eat. All right. So now let's read on. And Elohim was wroth with us, and Yahweh came into the garden and called me in a terrible voice and said, Adam, where art thou? And why hidest thou from my face? Shall the house be hid? Shall the house be able to hide itself from its builder? And he said to me, since thou hast abandoned my covenant, I have brought upon thy body 72 strokes. The first stroke is in the eyes. The second stroke is in the hearing. And thus in turn shall all the strokes befall thee. All right, so strokes, he talking about in the eyes, strokes in the hearing, all right? Meaning these things will be cut off at some point. And this is why a lot of people, when they get older, they lose their sight and they lose their hearing. And we have evidence too of our forefathers, even in their old age, how they still have their youth and their vibrance, like Moses. He was young, pretty much had his strength. Joshua, we can go on and on about our forefathers who were still in their youth. But these are examples of different things in our bodies that we see, along with the shortness of life that we know of, the years being cut down. That's why he said, and thus in turn shall all the strokes befall thee, because Adam and all of them during that generation was living 900 years and longer, but none of them lived 1,000 years. Like chapter 9. As Adam spake these things, he groaned sore and said, what shall I do? I am in great distress. And Kawhi also wept and said to Adam, Adonai, rise up and give me half of thy pain, and I will bear it for us. For it is on my account that this happened to thee, and because of me, trouble has found thee. All right, this is important to highlight because there are a lot of different understandings and interpretations on what happened, you know, and a lot of people feel like Adam abandoned Eve in the garden when he told the Most High, the woman that you gave me, you know, she gave me of the tree and I did eat, but we dealt with that, you know. But we see that Eve right here, she wept with Adam and she told Adam to give me half of thy pain and I will bear it for us. So what this lets us know is that Adam had to suffer fully for hearkening unto her voice. But then by him hearkening unto her voice, he suffered on her behalf as well. Because we see that she didn't really go through anything, any pain right here at this point. And she's saying, give me half of your pain because it's on my account that this happened to thee. And because of me, trouble has found thee. This is important for both women and men to understand, particularly if you're in a covenant, you know, marriage or relationship. This is good to understand because this lets us know how Satan operates. You know, a lot of women take this kind of information in offense, but this is not to stifle you or to make you feel captive or anything. This is to educate you. You know, when the Most High made the woman, he made the woman to be shielded and protected, you know, by Adam. And you see when Satan moved was when she was alone. Nobody was guarding her. Adam was far away from her. And we're going to read where he was, you know. The Most High divided the garden between the two, but we see that she was guarded. And at a time when she wasn't guarded, she wasn't shielded or covered, she was alone. This is when Satan moved in on her. And this is how Satan moves and operates in a lot of situations now. Notice that, you know, even in regular situations, you know, most people will rather address or deal with a woman than a man, you know. And most men know what I'm talking about. If you have a wife, you've been somewhere in public, you know, say you go to Best Buy or something and you want to buy a refrigerator or a washer or a dryer, you know, you go in there with your wife, you will see that whoever is trying to sell it, they'll try to deal more with your wife than with you. And there's a reason for that as well, you know. But then at the same time, you'll find that in most other situations, you know, a lot of people would rather go through a woman than a man. And this is Satan's pretty much this MO. This is how he operates. He wait till the woman is unguarded and then he sows deception into her. All right. A lot of times, ladies, when you watching stuff you shouldn't be watching or listening to stuff you shouldn't be listening to, that's when you unguarded, you know. When you're dealing with people that you shouldn't be dealing with, you know, you got lady friends that's living a certain way that the word of the Most High tell us not to live, tell the woman not to live. You unguarding yourself, but it's only a matter of time before what they're doing you're going to want to be a part of it. But let's read on. 3, he said, and Adam said to Eve, Kawah, arise and go with our son Seth near to the Garden of Eden, and put dust upon thy heads, and weep, and entreat Elohim to have mercy upon me, and send his angel to the Garden of Eden, and give me of the tree of which the oil floweth, and bring it me, and I shall anoint myself, and shall be quickened from my sickness. So basically, he wanted his wife and his son, because he fell sick. He wanted them to go to the garden, go to the edge of the garden, and entreat the angel to bring them the oil from the garden that would pretty much heal him and make him whole. All right, so let's see what happened. We in 10. It said, and Seth and Eve went toward the border of the garden, and it came to pass that when they went, Kawah saw her son, and behold, a beast fought against him. All right. A beast fought against him. He didn't say what kind. And Kawah wept and said, woe is me, if I come to the day of the resurrection, all those who have sinned will despise me, saying, Eve have not kept the commandment of Elohim. All right. So she's still feeling down about what took place. All right. Now that especially that she see this wild beast attack her son, because this was not the order of the Most High. All right. He gave them dominion over the beast. But when she saw this, then she reflected on the situation. All right, 3. And she cried to the beast, and she said, woe, thou wicked beast, fearest thou not to fight with the image of Elohim? How was thy mouth opened? How were thy teeth made strong? How didst thou not remember thy subjection, which thou served in the beginning, to the image of Elohim? Because the Most High gave them dominion over the beast and everything. So she's cursing him for attacking her son, and she asking you, how come you don't remember the order or thy subjection, right? Verse chapter 11. Then the beast cried out to Eve and said, it is not according to us, thy violence and thy wailing, for it is upon thee. All right. He answered, it is because of thee that the rule of the beast hath gone forth. How was thy mouth open to eat of the tree concerning which Elohim commanded thee not to eat? On this account, our nature also hath been transformed. Now, therefore, thou canst not endure it if I begin to reprove thee. So the animal or the beast basically cursed her back, telling her it's basically because of you that the nature or the order of everything has been transformed. All right. How is your mouth open to eat of the tree concerning which the Most High commanded thee not to eat of it? So because of that, the whole nature of everything was transformed. All right. And the order that the Most High set up was pretty much reversed. He gave them dominion over the beast, but because they partook of the fruit, now they have to contend with the animals and with the beasts of the field, because we know later on what happened after the flood and the command that he gave to Noah, that of every beast of the field they can eat, So he's basically saying you can't endure it if I begin to reprove you, or because I'm correcting you, you can't really handle that. You can't stand that, but you want to try to correct me, not realizing that y'all reversed the order. What you did, reverse the order. All right. Let's read on. 12. And said to the beast, close thy mouth and be silent and stand off from the image of Elohim until the day of judgment. All right. I wonder what this beast was, because he's telling him to stand off until the day of judgment. And the beast said to Seth, behold, I stand off from the image of Elohim. So in other words, I fall back. Okay, you got me. And she went to her dwelling. And Seth went with Kawah unto the border of the garden. And they wept there and entreated Elohim to send his angel and to give them of the oil of salvation. All right, real quick. I just thought of something dealing with this beast and unto the day of judgment. It kind of reminded me of the beast in the book of Daniel when it talk about the four beasts that he saw. One was a lion, one was a bear, one was a leopard, and then one was a beast that he couldn't describe. And now he's telling the same beast right here to stand off from the image of Elohim until the day of judgment. All right. But just a thought. It's 13 and 2. So they went and entreated the angel to give them the oil, right? Verse 2. And Elohim sent the great prince, Mikael. And he said to Seth, man of Elohim, weary not thyself with prayers concerning the tree which floweth with oil to anoint thy father Adam, for it shall not be given thee, but in the end of days. Right, so he's saying that don't weary yourself with praying for the oil to heal your father, because he can't have it right now. All right. So that lets us know that sometimes we pray for things and, we can't have it. The Most High don't give us everything we ask for. He gives us the desires of our heart. Once our desires are set on what they need to be set on according to his truth. But in this instance, he didn't grant them what they asked for. But he said that they could have it in the end of days. All right. Then shall all flesh be raised up from Adam to that great day, all that shall be of the holy people. All right. In Deuteronomy 32, it tells you that from the beginning, the Most High had his people in mind. And even in the book of Jubilees, when the Most High was creating everything, it tells you that he had his people in mind, his holy people. And we know that that's talking about Israel, all right, Israel and Judah. So he said, in the end of days, then shall all flesh be raised up from Adam to that great day, all that shall be of the holy people. So it's letting you know this is dealing with a particular people. All right, verse 4. Then shall the joys of the Garden of Eden be given to them, and Elohim shall be in their midst, and they shall no longer sin before his face, for the evil heart shall be taken from them, and there shall be given them a heart understanding the good and to serve Elohim alone. And thou return to thy father, for his days are fulfilled to die. And moreover, he shall have 3 days, and his soul shall go forth. Thou shalt see the terror of it ascending. All right. So in other words, they're going to witness Adam pretty much dying in a painful way, or I don't want to misinterpret that, but it said, thou shalt see the terror of his soul ascending. All right. We're going to read what he went through during his death and how his soul ascended. All right. But real quick, This right here, then shall the joys of the Garden of Eden be given to them, and Elohim shall be in their midst. All right, this is a reference to a passage in the Dead Sea Scrolls where it talks about the children of Israel and all the patriarchs and how they will inherit the glory of Adam. All right. And so this goes back to that, still letting you know that we're dealing with a people with that. All right, so we're in 14:1. And when the angel spake these things, he went up and ascended from them. And Seth and Eve came to the tent where Adam was laid therein. And Adam said to Eve, what hast thou done to us? All right. Thou hast brought upon us great wrath. Death shall rule over all our seed. All right. Why is he saying this? A lot of people say, it's like blaming her, but to a degree, she was responsible. She was responsible for a reason. All right, we're going to read more into the details about that. But we see that she held her accountability. But the reason he's asking her this is because he's going through a horrible experience. All right. What Eve did by giving him the fruit was intentional. And it was for a particular purpose. And we're going to read that. All right. But Adam said to Eve, what hast thou done to us? Thou hast brought upon us great wrath. Death shall rule over all our seed. And he said to her, call all our children and our children's children and tell them the manner of our decline. 15. And Eve said to them, hear all my children and children's children, and I will relate to thee how the enemy deceived us. When we were guarding the garden, each one the portion that was given to him from Elohim, and I guarded my lot, which was wonderful to me, the west and the south. And Satan went to Adam's lot, where the male beasts were, for Elohim divided the beast to us. All the male beasts he gave to thy father, and all the female he gave unto me. All right, so we see that they were guarding, Adam and Eve were guarding lots. They were given lots, all right, to guard. And while they were guarding these lots, they had the animals. She's saying that all the male animals were on Adam's side and the female animals were on her side. And so it says Satan went to Adam's lot. All right. So he didn't go over there to see Adam or to speak to Adam or to say anything to Adam. He just went over there where the male beasts were. All right. For Elohim divided the beasts to us, all the male beasts he gave to thy father, and all the males he gave unto me. And Satan spake to the serpent, saying, rise up, come to me, and I will tell thee a word whereby thou mayest have profit. And he rose and came to him, and Satan said to him, I have seen that thou art more subtle than all the beasts, and I have come to counsel thee. All right, so he went over to Satan's lot and he spoke to the serpent because the serpent was more subtle, all right, than all the beasts. Real quick, I want to look up that term, subtle. Let's do ourselves a service. Hold on real quick. is how I like to study. Let me see. All right. Let me share this. Subtle. The serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. All right, so the serpent was more subtle, elusive. All right, hard to comprehend or define, hard to isolate or identify, tending to evade, grasp, or pursue. Elusive, cunning, crafty, sagacious. What is that? Of keen and far-sighted penetration and judgment, discerning, caused by or indicating acute discernment, keen in sense or perception. All right. What else we got? Subtle. So the serpent was more keen in sense. The serpent was more discerning. The serpent was more sagacious. It's more farsighted. It's more subtle and elusive, cunning, crafty. All right. So Satan observed all of these qualities in the serpent and said that, okay, I want him. I want to use him. Now, I don't know what is it about a serpent that would be more appealing or so appealing to say, okay, I can use him to make him deceive the woman. What is it about serpents? You know, let me see. Let's go back. Sure. We're dealing with the history of the relationship / war between our brothers and sisters. So Satan went to Adam's side of the garden and chose the serpent. All right. Because he was more subtle than all the beasts, and I've come to counsel thee. So because he saw that the serpent was more subtle and he had all of those qualities, he said, I will tell thee a word whereby thou mayst have profit. Remember, Satan is a liar from the beginning. He told everything he uttered was a lie from the beginning. So he said, I'm going to tell you a word whereby you may have profit, right? And he said, and I have come to counsel thee. So because you had a potential that I need to fulfill a purpose, I'm going to give you some game so you can go and do what I need you to do. Verse 4. Why dost thou eat of Adam's meat and not of the fruit of the garden? And now rise up, and we will make him to be cast out of the garden and remove his wife as we were cast out through him. All right. So this is Satan's whole purpose and intent, is to cause Adam to be cast out of the garden and to remove his wife, right? As we were cast out through him. What is he talking about? If we read, I believe it's in the book of Sirach, or the book of the Wisdom of Solomon, it talk about through the envy of the devil, sin crept in. So there was envy between the devil and the Most High's creation when he created man in his image. because we know that it said that all the angels are ministers or ministering spirits. So the angels themselves were created to serve the Most High's people once his people are in a righteous capacity. All right, the angels and everything that the Most High has becomes of service to us. So he said his purpose and intent was to have Adam removed and to remove his wife as we were cast out through him. All right. The serpent said unto him, I fear lest the anger of Elohim be wroth with me. And Satan said unto him, fear not, only be my vessel, and I will speak through thy mouth words to deceive him. All right. So this is Satan's whole purpose and intent, to cause them to be cast out of the garden. All right. And upon them being cast out of the garden, he did some other things as well. All right. He knew that the Most High wouldn't kill him right away. All right. Although Satan's plan is to have the whole creation destroyed. You know, he wants all of Most High's creation to be destroyed. But his purpose and intent right here was to have them cast out of the garden and out of paradise. All right. But let's look at what he did in doing that. It says, and suddenly the serpent took hold of a wall in the garden. And when the angels ascended to worship Elohim, it came to pass that Satan appeared in the form of an angel and praised Jehovah like one of the angels. Sorry for my raggedy line. But remember, Satan appears as an angel of light. And so when the angels ascended up to worship who were guarding Eve, it said it came to pass that Satan appeared in the form of an angel and praised Jehovah like one of the angels. And I looked forth from the wall, and I saw him like the form of an angel. And he said unto me, art thou Kawah? And I said, I am. And he said unto me, what art thou doing in the garden? And I said to him, Elohim set us to guard it and to eat of its fruit. And Satan answered me through the mouth of the serpent, ye have done well, but ye do not eat of every tree in the garden. And I said unto him, from every tree of the garden we shall eat. Only from the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim said not to eat of it, for in the day ye eat of it, ye shall surely die. All right, so Satan appeared to her as an angel of light, and all this was to deceive her. But it says that once Satan appeared to her, he said, what art thou doing in the garden? And she answered him, Elohim set us to guard it and to eat of its fruit. All right, so he's asking her questions that if he was truly an angel of light, he would have known. All right, so what he's doing is he's pretty much making a conversation with her, setting up a conversation. All right, and I'm making a point with that because I'm going to show you something. It's something Eve should have done right here that she didn't do. All right, and this is why he's responding to her in the way that he's doing, because a spirit like this, all a spirit like this needs you to do is to respond to them. And those who respond to them, the Most High has given them authority over those people. All right. As a matter of fact, let me hold on one second. I want to show you that. I'm going to read a portion from the Apocalypse of Abraham. All right. Let me see something real quick. All right. In the Apocalypse of Abraham, Abraham encountered an angel. All right. And the angel took Abraham up on a mount. And on this mount, this is pretty much the mount that was said that the Mashiach went up on, because it was a mount where no man ate or drank. All right. And while Abraham was on this mount, the Most High was dealing with him. And while he was on this mount, there was an unclean spirit that came to Abraham in the form of a unclean fowl, a bird. And this bird was saying things to Abraham, and the angel pretty much told Abraham not to respond to this unclean spirit. And who this unclean spirit was the angel Azazel, who had manifested itself in the spirit of that unclean fowl. All right. And let me see. Give me a second. Yeah, they sent to me okay. One second. Be down. Okay. Okay. Here we go. All right, y'all, forgive me for that. I'm gonna share my screen real quick. Now, what I'm about to share with you now is what Eve should have done. All right. Now, I'm not saying she had knowledge of this, but this is what any woman should do in a case where anybody is trying to deal with you away from your husband or get you to operate outside of any order, the proper order that's been set. Eve knew what the command was. So in that case, when this angel appeared to her, and I know that, she was deceived, but this should have been her response. This is why you read passages in the Bible where it talk about if an angel come to you preaching another gospel, don't believe them. There'll be a curse, stuff like that, because this is how Satan operates. It tells you his ministers appears as an angel of light. And this is what he did, but this is how she should have responded. All right, I gave you the backdrop on what happened. And this is a good account to the Apocalypse of Abraham. But watch this. He said, the angel said to me, Abraham, and I said, here am I, thy servant. And he said, no, that's not what I want. Hold on. Okay, here we go. This is what I want. The angel said to me, Abraham, and I said, here am I, thy servant. And he said, know from henceforth that the eternal one hath chosen thee, he whom thou lovest. Be of good courage and use this authority so far as I bid thee against him who slandereth truth. Should I not be able to put him to shame who have scattered over the earth the secrets of heaven and hath rebelled against the mighty one. And this is speaking of Azazel. If you read the book of Enoch, it lets you know what Azazel did, how he was one of the angels who revealed the secrets of heaven. And it says, say to him, be thou the burning coal of the furnace of the earth. Go, Azazel, into the inaccessible parts of the earth. For thy heritage is to be over those existing with thee, being born with the stars and clouds, with the men whose portion thou art, and who through thy being exists, and thine enmity is justification. On this account, by thy perdition, disappear from me. And I uttered the words which the angel had taught me. And he said, Abraham. And I said, here am I, thy servant. And the angel said to me, answer him not, for God hath given him power over those who do answer him. And the angel spake to me a second time and said, now rather, however much he speak to thee, answer him not, that his will may have no free course in thee, because the eternal and mighty one hath given him weight and will. Answer him not. I did what was commanded me by the angel, and however much he spake to me, I answered him nothing whatsoever. All right. So this is just an example of what Eve should have did in that situation. All right. She should have not even answered him. She should have just ignored him, because it tells you that God hath given him power over those who do answer him. All right. So I don't have no problem with a woman who ignore men who just try to get at them at a random, especially if she got a man already. You know, a lot of women will get caught stuck up or whatever. But what these women are doing is being wise and guarding themselves and guarding what the Most High has brought together. You know, those who are doing it in that manner, you know. But this should have been her approach, and this should be every woman's approach and man's approach for that matter. You know, we don't have to respond to everything either as men. You know, you see he's telling Abraham right here, don't answer Azazel. Just ignore him. You know, he know what his destiny is. And the only reason he's trying to get you to respond to him is because if you do, then he's going to have power over you. All right. And even if you try to stand your ground against him, he's going to bring things into your life. This is what happens when we allow certain things and certain people into our life. You know, those things start to germinate and grow other things into our life, and we have to fight and, you know, come out of things, you know. But this is what should have taken place. So he said, let's see. And Satan appeared in the form of an angel and praised Jehovah like one of the angels. And I looked forth from the wall and saw him like the form of an angel. And he said to me, art thou Kawah? Like, what the heck kind of question is that, dude? She's the only woman in the garden. Who else is she going to be? And I said, I am. She should have just looked at him crazy. Like, what other woman is in the garden? What other woman did Adam name? All right. And he said to me, what art thou doing in the garden? All right. And I said to him, Elohim set us to guard it and to eat of his fruit. Now, like I said, if he was an angel of righteousness, he would have known that. All right. She should have asked, who are you and why are you not up there with the other angels worshiping right now? You know, and Satan answered me through the mouth of the serpent, ye have done well, but ye do not eat of every tree in the garden. And I said to him, from every tree of the garden we shall eat, only from the tree in the midst of the garden, Elohim said not to eat of it, for in the day ye eat of it, ye shall surely die. She should have just ignored him, because what's the saying? Conversation rule the nation, right? They can get you talking, then that's all they need if they good enough. And he was good enough, because he got her to repeat everything the Most High said, even to the point where she said, don't touch it. You know, the Genesis account say don't touch it, right? So she should have just ignored him. 18, and the serpent said unto me, as Elohim liveth, I am distressed on thine account, for thee to be like unto beast. I desire thee not to be brutish and without knowledge. All right, so this is where the concept, when people say, when the Most High told him not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, you know, he was hiding knowledge from us. You know, he didn't really want us to know the secrets, you know. But we see that this concept was sown into her through Satan. He said, I'm distressed on thine account. In other words, I feel sorry for you. You know, you like an animal, you know, because you won't even eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. You know, you eating from every tree, but not from this tree, you know. He said, I desire thee not to be brutish and without knowledge. All right, so he got her attention with that. All right. But arise now, come hither, hearken to me, and eat, and ye shall know and esteem the tree. And I said unto him, I fear lest Elohim be wroth with me, as he told us. And he said to me, fear not, for as soon as thou eatest of it, thine eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as Elohim, knowing good and evil. All right, so he wanted her to partake of this fruit of this tree so that she could be as Elohim, knowing good and evil. All right, now they could have eaten from the tree of life freely, but this one tree, the Most High commanded them not to eat. All right, Satan used the woman as a means to cause her to eat the tree so that she would cause her husband to eat the tree. All right. So that would in turn bring them both down and bring them from the glory of the Most High. All right. He said unto me, fear not, for as soon as thou eatest of it, thine eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as Elohim, knowing good and evil. For Elohim knoweth that ye shall be like him. So he envied thee and said, ye shall not eat of it. So Satan deceived her into thinking that the Most High envied her. All right. And so for that cause, the Most High didn't want them to eat the tree. For Elohim knoweth that ye shall be like him. So he envied thee and said, ye shall not eat it. Hast thou not faced the tree and seen his great glory and covering upon it? And it came to pass, when I feared to take of the fruit, he said unto me, come hither, go with me, and I will give it to thee. All right, so She hesitated to do it, but when she did that, Satan said, "Come with me, and I will give you of the tree." All right, so there's something happening here. All right, just like they could have went and ate from the tree of life freely. All right, but the Most High told them not to eat from this tree, and so once she hesitated to do it, he said, "Come hither, go with me, and I will give it thee." All right. He said, "And I opened unto him, and he went before me. And when he walked a little, he turned unto me and said, I repent. I will not give thee to eat until thou swear to me to give also to thy husband." All right. So before I give you this fruit, you have to swear to give it to your husband. All right. He said, "I will not give thee to eat until thou swear to me to give also to thy husband." Verse 2. And I said, "I know it's not what oath I shall swear to thee. Howbeit, this I know." I said, "By the throne of Jehovah, and by the cherubim, angels of the presence, and by the tree of life, for I will give also to my husband to eat." So she swore by the throne of Jehovah. All right. I swear to God, you know, swear to God, I'm gonna give it to him. That's, you know, and by the cherubim, the angels of the presence of the Most High, and by the tree of life. These were the only things she knew to swear by it, and she couldn't swear on her mama, you know, put that on my mama. None of that, you know. She was the first woman. So what? Nothing else she could swear on but what she knew, which was the throne of Jehovah, the angels of the presence, and the tree of life. For I will give also to my husband. Now we understand in the law where it tells a man pretty much if your wife or your daughter makes an oath, a man can come behind the woman and pretty much do away with that oath, depending on how extreme it is, you know. But if he don't do away with it, then whatever oath that woman makes stands. But it just shows that, you know, the Most High wants the woman to be covered, and at this particular time she wasn't. You know, this was extreme right here. This was like when the scribes and the Pharisees wanted Mashiach killed so desperately. They said, "Man, we, you know, his blood be on us and on our children. Just do it." You know, they didn't care what happened. Just kill this man. This is the extreme of this right here. She swore upon the throne of the Most High, upon the angels of the presence, and on the tree of life, that she would give this fruit to her husband. All right. And when he caused me to vow, he approached, and he went up upon it, and he took up the fruit that he gave me to eat, and poisoned it with lust. All right. We're gonna get into that some in the part 3 of this discussion. So he went up and got the fruit, and he spiked it. You know how a dude give you a drink, he put some in your drink, you know, then he give it to you. He poisoned it with lust. All right. For lust is the beginning of every sin, and he perverted the branch, and I desired it, and I took of the fruit, and I ate it. All right. So he took the fruit, poisoned it with lust. All right. Perverted it, and she desired it, you know, because he told her the tree was good for the sight. You know, when you read in Genesis, I tell you how she saw the fruit was good for food, pleasant to the eyes, you know, and the tree to be desired. So she had a desire for this tree. You know, you can't really deceive nobody with anything that they don't have a desire for. You know, nobody can be deceived in that matter. But she had a desire for the tree. And so he took advantage of that, just like he examined all of the beasts of the field, right, who were on Adam's side. And he knew the serpent was more subtle. That takes some examination, you know. Now that tree, one thing I questioned, it's strange how this tree was on her side. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. From my understanding of reading this, so she was by herself, right? And when Satan saw her by herself, he took advantage of that moment because he saw that she had a desire for that tree, because he examined her like he examined Eve. I mean, he examined her just like he examined Adam, rather. Just like he examined all of the beasts of the field. All right. So he poisoned it with lust. He spiked her drink. All right. For lust is the beginning of every sin, and he perverted the branch. And I desired it, and I took of the fruit, and I ate. It was terrible. All right. So it wasn't what she thought it was going to be. And my eyes were opened, and I knew that I was naked from the righteousness that clothed me. So this is the first thing her eyes was open to. After she ate the fruit, realized that it wasn't what she thought it was, her eyes was open instantly. So she didn't even get the fulfillment that she wanted to get from it, only to realize that she separated herself from the righteousness that clothed her. This is what he meant when he said, your eyes will be open and you shall know good and evil. In other words, your eyes should be open and you're going to be separated from the righteousness of the Most High. Now you're going to have to deal with good and evil. You're going to have to survive without that righteousness, without that covering. And she realized this. All right. And I wept. All right. And I said unto him, what is this thou hast done unto me? For thou hast pulled off from upon me my glory, which clothed me. This was the whole purpose and intent. In order to dwell in paradise, you have to have this covering of glory. He wanted to separate them from that. All right. And by separating them from that, he gave her fruit that was perverted with lust. And we read also that he sowed enmity between her, or he sowed enmity in her. All right. The enemy sowed enmity in her. What is this thou hast done unto me? For thou hast pulled off from upon me my glory, which clothed me. And I wept also concerning the oath. Remember the promise she made? She swore on the throne, because after she ate the fruit, she realized what happened. And then she realized the oath that she made, which I had sworn. But he descended from the tree and was no more. And I sought in my part to cover up my nakedness, and I found none. For when I had eaten, the leaves fell down from all the trees in my part, except the fig tree. And I took leaves from it, and I made for me a girdle, and it was from the tree of which I ate of its fruit. So after she realized what she done, she realized she was separated from the glory of the Most High. She wept because she remembered the oath that she swore that she would give it to her husband. All right. So at this point, she's pretty much at a point where she has a decision to make. All right. But once she wept and she realized what she did, look at what Satan did. All right. He descended from the tree and he was no more. He vanished because the mission was complete. All right. Now, a lot of people say Adam abandoned Eve, but what we're going to realize, what we're going to read in these next couple of chapters is we're going to read why the Most High said, or why in the New Testament it says that the Mashiach is the second Adam. All right. 21. It says, and I cried in a loud voice, and I said, Adam, Adam, where art thou? Rise up and come to me, and I will make known to thee a great secret. All right. And when our father came, I spake to him words of wickedness, which have brought us down from our great glory. So when she came to him, she told him, come to me, and I will make known to thee a great secret, So he should have been wondering, who would she get this great secret from? Who was she speaking to? We know that the angels guarded her, and so could this great secret have come from them? And could this have made Adam consider what she had to say? But let's read on. It says, and when our father came, I spake to him words of wickedness, which have brought us down from our great glory. All right. So this was Satan's intent when he deceived Eve into partaking of the fruit and swearing to give it to her husband, is to bring them down from their great glory, the glory that the Most High gave them. And remember also, by Eve partaking to the serpent, and by Adam partaking, by Eve rather hearkening to the serpent, and by Adam hearkening to Eve, that reversed the order of who Elohim is in the earth. This is why Revelation refers to the Antichrist as the Elohim of the earth, because during that time, Satan will be operating through the Antichrist. So when Eve partook of the fruit and gave it to her husband, that pretty much made her Lord over him in a way. And so when the Most High handed out the curses, he started by cursing the serpent in the Genesis account. All right, because that's pretty much cursing the order that Satan set in the earth by deceiving Eve. All right. So verse 3, for when he came, speaking of when Adam came to her, she said, I opened my mouth and Satan spake, and I brought him a portion and said, come hither, Adonai, Adam, hearken unto me and eat of the tree which Elohim said to us not to eat of it, and thou shalt be as Elohim, And thy father answered and said, I fear lest afterwards the wrath of Yahweh be in me. And I said unto him, fear not, for in the day ye eat of it, ye shall know good and evil. All right. So now, this wasn't a lie. You know, even in Genesis, it tells you that after Adam ate, that the Most High said, behold, the man has become as one of us to know good and evil. And that's when he cast him out the garden. All right. So Adam wasn't deceived in this regard. You know, this was the truth. But let's read on. It says, and thus speedily I persuaded him, and he ate, and behold, his eyes were opened, and he also knew of his nakedness. And he said unto me, O wicked woman, what have I done to thee, that thou hast deprived me of the glory of Elohim? All right. So she was robbed of her glory by hearkening to the serpent, and he was robbed of his glory by hearkening to her. And this is Satan's plan. This is his intent. All right. Even a lot of times, with the relationship, the connection between men and women, this is his intent. You know, he wants to use women in a lot of cases to deprive the men of the glory of Elohim, or to keep them from obtaining the glory of Elohim. You know, this is why in a lot of cases too, even brothers who have repented and have started to follow the Most High can do no right in the eyes of some of our sisters. And a lot of that is due to the conditioning that's on them as well, how they're trained to see things from a societal standpoint and from a lot of their upbringing. But we see that this is the root. All right, when we read what happened in the garden, Satan used Eve to rob Adam of his glory. After she did what she did, she was aware of what took place, you know, but she still went through and did what she did due to the oath that she swore to give it to her husband. All right. Now, I don't know if that's an oath she could have went back on. You know, I'm sure anything negative like that, you can always repent from and change. But this is why we see in the law how the Most High gives the man authority over the woman when it comes to making oaths. You know, in the case that is something extreme, you know, a man might have a wife and he might have 100 cattle, you know, and she might swear an oath to sacrifice all those cattle, you know what I mean, for whatever purpose. And so in some cases that's extreme, you know, but then if a man hear an oath that a woman makes, he can also agree with it and allow that oath to go through, you know. But in this case, this was an extreme oath for her to swear on the throne of the Most High, you know, who, when you read Leviticus 3, it tells you that Adam was the son of the Most High. So you swore on the throne of Adam's father, the great Elohim, you know, to bring him down. Basically, you swore on the throne of the one who created Adam in his image to bring him down. And that wasn't his intent or purpose. And this is why Adam said he came down in a terrible voice. All right, let's read on. He said, what have I done to thee, that thou hast deprived me of the glory of Elohim? What wrong have I done? It says, on that day, we heard the great prince, Michael, blowing with his trumpet and calling to the angels, saying, Thus saith Jehovah, come with me to the garden and hear the judgment with which I shall judge Adam. And when Elohim appeared in splendor upon a chariot of cherubim in the garden, and angels proceeding before him and singing, its flowers and every tree of the garden, also thy father's lot and mine also. And the throne of Elohim stood fixed where the tree of life was. Ain't that something? So check this out. It says, see, now we talking about riding in style. Now watch this. It says, Elohim appeared in splendor upon a chariot, right? With the angels, all right? So he on a chariot, and he have his crew with him, all right? I'm putting this in layman's terms. The Most High is holy, all right? But just picture this. When he appeared on a chariot, and the angels proceeding before him and singing, right? So he riding around with his music loud, right? It's flowers in every tree of the garden, also thy father's lot and mine also, right? And the throne of Elohim stood fixed where the tree of life was. All right, so remember, the Most High said he wants to dwell in the midst of his people. And so the Bible gives us evidence of other places in the earth where the Most High have marked, like the Mount Sinai, and where else? It's some more places that the Most High has marked in the earth. But this kind of reminds me of that. It says the throne of Elohim stood fixed where the tree of life was. And this is in the garden. It says, and Elohim called unto Adam, saying, Adam, where art thou? Can the house be hidden from the presence of its builder? And thy father answered and said, we cannot hide from thee, Jehovah, but I am concealed from thy face because I was afraid, because I am naked. All right, so he was afraid. The Bible says that the Most High hasn't given us the spirit of fear, but he said, I stand in awe before thy might, O Jehovah. And Elohim said unto him, who told thee that thou art naked? Hast thou forsaken my commandment, which I commanded thee to keep? And Adam remembered the word which I spake unto him, saying, thou shalt not be endangered by the hand of Jehovah. And he turned unto me and said, what is this that thou hast done? And I said, the serpent deceived me. So just imagine this. Adam listened to her, and there used to be a saying, listen to the woman, right? But in this regard, we see that wasn't the right thing for him to do, because when the Most High pretty much squared him up, now he has to stand and give an account. Number one, you have to give an account for where your fear came from. How did you know that you were naked? You know what I mean? So where did you get all of these senses from that I didn't give you? And so once he did that, it says he remembered the word which Eve spake to him, saying, you won't be endangered by the hand of Jehovah. In other words, ain't nothing gonna happen to you. Go ahead. We're gonna be all right. And he turned unto me and said, what is this that thou hast done? And she said, the serpent deceived me. So just imagine him turning and whispering to her, and she whispering like, I don't know, I'm sorry, I didn't know that was gonna happen. Elohim said unto Adam, since thou hast not hearkened to my commandment, and thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, cursed is the ground in thy labors. Thou shalt work it, and it shall not give it strength. Thorns and thistles shall spring up for thee, and in the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat thy bread. Thou shalt be in manifold toils. Thou shalt not rest. Thou shalt be full of bitterness, and thou shalt not taste sweetness. Thou shalt contend with the fate of the sword. Thou shalt mourn. Thou shalt contend with the cold. Thou shalt have many strokes. Thou shalt not be rich. Thou shalt grow fat, and at thy end thou shalt not be established. The beast over whom thou didst have dominion shall rise up in rebellion against thee, for thou hast not kept my commandment. All right. Pretty familiar with this from the book of Genesis. This is the curse on Adam. All right. Verse 20, chapter 25. And Jehovah turned unto me and said, because thou hast hearkened to the voice of thy serpent and rebelled against my commandment, thou shalt be in travail and in great agonies thou shalt bring forth. In sorrow and trembling shalt thou bring forth children, and in 1 hour thou shalt draw nigh unto birth, and thou shalt be cut off from thy life, and thou shalt be brought low in great sorrows. And thou shalt confess and say, Jehovah, Jehovah, save me, and I will turn no more to the sin of the flesh. Therefore, according to thine own words, I will judge thee by reason of the enmity which the enemy has put in thee. Thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. So when Satan deceived her, the whole purpose was to get them cast out of the garden and to sow lust and enmity in the woman toward the man. All right. And so let's see. Let's read a little bit more. It says, and he turned to the serpent in great wrath, and he said unto him, because thou hast done this and hast deceived upright hearts. All right. Upright hearts. So now this lets us know that even if we upright and we're deceived, even in the law, it tells us that there's an offering for sins that's committed in ignorance. All right. But I highlighted this upright hearts because I don't want us to think that by reading this account that our forefather and our foremother was wicked. I don't want us to be disrespectful in our assumptions of our forefathers. The scriptures is written for our learning and for our edification. And this is just the history of what took place. I still believe we ought to remain in an honorable position. But it says that he deceived upright hearts. Cursed art thou among all beasts and among all the living. All right. Thou shalt be deprived of the victuals which thou didst eat, and thus shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. Remember when Satan came to him, he asked him, why do you eat of the meat of Adam's meat, and not of every tree of the garden, right? Upon thy belly shalt thou go, thou shalt be in want of hands and feet. There shall not be left thee ear nor wing, nor shall one fly of all that with which thou didst ensnare them in thy wickedness, and cause them to be cast out of the Garden of Eden. And I will put enmity between thee and his seed, and he shall bruise his head, and thou shalt bruise his heel until the day of judgment. All right, so I'll put enmity between thee and his seed, and he shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. All right, until the day of judgment. In the Genesis account, it talks about enmity between the serpent seed and the woman's seed. All right. Speaking of the Mashiach. All right, but the enmity is what we're dealing with. All right. Because he sowed enmity between the Most High's creation. The Most High used that same enmity between him and the seed. Speaking of the Mashiach, the same enmity, the same. Let me put it back up. Well, I don't have to put it up. Let me just blurt it out. The state of feeling or being actively opposed or hostile to someone or something, actively opposed or hostile. All right, think about the system that we live in, that's actively opposed to us as a people. And so this is part of what we see. The Most High said that would happen. And so we see the same thing happening with our men and our women, our Israelite men and our Israelite women. And I'm doing this as a means to help shed light, like I said, for those of us who want to be solution oriented. It's not to place blame or to do any of that. It's to point out what the scriptures say in regards to this matter. One thing that we have to realize is that there's no issue in this life that the Most High's word doesn't deal with in some way, form, or fashion. You know what I mean? And so, like anything else, if we want to fix it, it's good to get the Most High's perspective on it, to get an understanding. By the grace of the Most High, I was able to find me a wife. We have a family, and I was at a point in my life before where I was bitter and felt different types of ways and thought different types of ways. But then I had to really repent and sort of recall my own self. What was my actions? What could I have done different or better? A lot of situations I was in, looking back, I realized that I could have been doing something else with that time. A lot of us waste time, or have wasted time in the past with people that don't really contribute to us doing anything for the Most High. They don't really contribute or help us be better people. We might find benefits in being around certain people, but those benefits wear off and then reality kicks in. Just like, Eve benefited from seeing the tree all that time. It said they were like 18 years in the garden or so. And so all that time she beheld the tree, up until the point where she actually partook of it and realized that it was horrible. It wasn't what she thought. It wasn't worth all of the time that she spent desiring it, And so it's the same thing with us. We spend a lot of time, in the past with people and desiring certain things and certain people that we shouldn't have. And it creates a bitterness in us. You know, and I'm bringing that out because that's a common thing that most of us go through. But in order to heal, we have to be accountable for that. You know, we have to be accountable for loving and embracing the wrong things. You know, like I say, we can't cry over spilled milk. And that's what that is. You know, that don't mean that you have to give up. It means that you do have the capacity to love. If you can love somebody like that you ain't supposed to love, then imagine what you could do for somebody that you really are supposed to love. You know, but it's just something to think about. You know, this is part 2. You know, we dealt with the history of our forefather Adam and Eve and why we see the war between our brothers and sisters today. It all stemmed from that, the enmity and the lust that was sold into our forefather. All right. And from our forefather choosing to heed the voice of our forefather over the Most High. You know, this is another thing we have to understand too. The proper order, you know, in most cases, particularly in a relationship, the Most High is going to direct and instruct the man. Doesn't mean that he's not going to deal with the women. But in most cases, like I said, the Most High has an order to things. And real quick, let me pull up a passage real quick. Because hold up. You say things like that and people tend to take it the wrong way. You know, people tend to think that by saying that the man is the head, that means that the woman is below the ground, and that's not the case. But that's how people interpret it, you know, as a means of not embracing the truth of the matter. I want y'all to check this out. It's Isaiah 51. It says, "Hearken to me, ye that follow after righteousness, ye that seek Yahweh, look unto the rock whence ye are hewn, and to the hole of the pit whence ye are digged." The rock, speaking of Mashiach. All right. Look unto the rock whence ye are hewn, and to the hole of the pit whence ye are digged. Look unto Abraham, your father, and to Sarah that bear you, for I called him alone and blessed him and increased him. Right? And so we can get into the other passages about, you know, how the women of the past, how the women of today are supposed to look to the women of the past, you know, as an example. But the Most High said he blessed, he called him alone. Abraham, remember he made the covenant with Abraham. You know, he blessed him and increased him. And through blessing him, calling him, blessing him, and increasing him, we know that Sarah, our mother, also was elevated through that as well, because Abraham was her Lord. All right. We're going to get into some of those other passages too in part 3. But this is something that I just wanted to touch on real quick, dealing with this issue between our brothers and sisters. We have a good, solid understanding of the history of what took place, what the Most High intended, and what took place, how the enemy infiltrated, and disrupted the order of the Most High. All right. A lot of people, like I said, when dealing with this issue, there's a lot of offense when you start dealing with the order and saying that the men are the heads. But I stand on that myself because I feel that as a brother, as an Israelite, as a brother who, comes from a Black woman, raised around my people. I'm now married to a Black woman and we have a family. I feel that it's brothers like myself, brothers like me, brothers like, the brothers on the platform. We're qualified to speak on this. If you're a Black man and you repented and the Most High is your refuge, then you're qualified to speak on issues that pertain to your people. This is not a judgment. This is just simply laying out the information for people who want to use it as a means to heal and to do better. The Most High said he's going to redeem our people. But in the meantime, while we're waiting on that redemption, the scriptures call for us to wait on the Most High and to turn back to him, to turn from our wickedness and to turn back to him. He said he's going to multiply us above our forefathers. And so in order to do that, in order to receive that blessing, we have to be in a position we have to have brothers and sisters who are on the same page mentally and spiritually and understand what the Most High's plan and intent is and willing to humble themselves, come together and love one another according to the truth, and let everything else flow from that. But we have to have a solid foundation as a people. Our men and our women being together under the proper order of the Most High is one of the main things, one of the main foundations of our heritage, our culture, so to speak, as a people. And this is something that the system that we're in separates us from. They separate us from our families. They separate us from our relationships. They got systems in place to make Black men not desire Black women and vice versa. That's not a one-sided issue. But we know that in any culture, if you want to do away with a people, you do away with the men. And so if you want to do away with the Israelite men, then you promote Black men being with other races of women, or you promote Black women mostly being with other races of men. This is what you see a lot in the movies and in the mainstream a lot. You might see a few famous Black men with white women, but those are the only real type of men that you'll see promoted in the mainstream. And it's for two reasons. It's for really to ridicule and to make Black men look bad. Every time a Black man gets some wealth, they go outside their race. But then that's really also an indictment against Black women, because what they don't tell you is that a lot of these Black men who get on these levels are told to get with certain types of women, as a means to protect their image or so that they could elevate to higher levels. So it'll look better with, this type of woman on your side, because Black women have a certain type of image. Once you get to a certain level, that's not going to look good. This is what they train a lot of black men once they get to a certain level. And a lot of black men yield to that so that they could, you know, get what they need to get. But this is why the Most High wants us to come out of this system, you know, and this is why we have to change how we see success as a people. We have to change how we see everything. We have to change how we see each other. But on that note, sisters and brothers, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And y'all leave your comments and your questions. Hit us up in the email. Real quick, let's see who in the chat. My brother Hal, peace and blessings. Jabroni, peace and blessings. Sister Joy, peace and blessings. Who else we got? Growing to Yah, peace and blessings. My brother Yashadet, peace and blessings. Diane Gardner Young, shalom. Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing well. Peace and blessings. Part of the royal family of the Most High. Peace and blessings to you. Thanks for joining in. L. Kemp, peace and blessings. Read from the book of Adam and Eve. All right. Heaven offers me everything. Read from the book of Adam and Eve. See, Brother Hal say we need a Q&A maybe after part 3. Absolutely. I'm going to set that up. I want to lay everything out first. And then once we do that, then we can set up an actual discussion to where, you know, I want to open it up to the panel. I want to hear what brothers and sisters have to say concerning this issue. You know, this is something that I take serious. You know, this ain't nothing that I'm chiming in on because, you know, it's popular or anything. I see it is popular, but I see it also as a need for our people. You know, like I mentioned before, this is an issue that has been swept under the rug for many years, you know, and it's an uncomfortable issue because it's a lot of conviction that has to take place. It's a lot of owning up that needs to take place, you know, on both sides. And so, you know, like I said, not to blame anybody, but as men and women, we all have to be accountable, you know. Now, I'm not blaming anybody for what Eve did, just like I'm not blaming the brothers for what Adam did, but understand that a lot of what we do, a lot of how we respond to one another traces back to this. And the Most High tells us to recall the sins of our forefathers. And so I'm doing all of this to lay it all out so that we can see what the word of God has to say about what our forefathers and foremothers did, you know, how we can turn back and how we can repent. And so we will most definitely be doing a question and answer session, you know. And Brother Hal, if you want to be a part of that, email me and I can communicate with you, get you a link or whatever. That's if that's what you want to do, you know, but, you know, that'll be a blessing. Just know that. But we will definitely do that. All right. Peace and blessings, Sister Yvette. I want to thank y'all for spending your precious time listening to me run my mouth. You know, it's definitely a blessing and an honor to know that, you know, it's people out there with ears to hear and eyes to see. And the Most High know that I don't want to deceive nobody. You know, I always say I'm not a teacher, you know, and brothers and sisters on this platform is well informed. So I don't really see that being possible for me to deceive anybody or to lead anybody astray, which is why we open up the platform for brothers and sisters. And if we disagree, then hey, that's just what it is. That's a part of what we do. But as it pertains to this issue, we will get more into it on a part 3. We're going to get more into the wisdom of Solomon and into the book of Ecclesiasticus and the book of Proverbs and different things like that, and just kind of investigate to see what the Most High tells us about the man and about the woman, how we should conduct ourselves, how we should deal with one another, types of men and types of women that the Most High is not pleased with, so forth and so on. And so all of this, I believe, will help us, come to a better conclusion and help us deal with this issue better. And even when dealing with some of these platforms, when listening to what certain people have to say, you'll be able to decipher what they have to say better from a better foundation. But I want to say peace and blessings to everybody. I hope y'all have a good night. You brothers and sisters who have to wake up in the morning, peace and blessings to you. I hope you be safe to and from your destinations. And I pray for your families and for your children as well. All right, peace and blessings. Shalom.